We're glad to have those assignments because we're glad to have you here to learn a little bit about how local government works. And there's probably some future city council members and mayors out there in the audience. So hopefully this is kind of where it all starts. All right. So glad to have you here. We'd like to start off our meeting this evening with an opening prayer, and I've asked Councilmember Chambers to offer that for us, after which I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity that we have to assemble in this city council meeting tonight. We're grateful for those who have joined us and pray that their experience may be positive. Father, we're grateful for this great community in which we live and pray that thou will continue to prosper it. We are mindful as a council of the privilege that is ours to serve this community. And so we pray that thou will grant unto us wisdom and discernment as we deliberate upon the issues before us tonight. We also pray for those who work for our city, that they may be blessed and protected in their service. Father, we express our love and our thanks to thee and for our Savior Jesus Christ, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand and repeat after me the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you all very much. All right, we'd like to go ahead and have the roll call of our city council members at this time.
Councilmember Johnson. Here. Councilmember Chambers.
Here.
Councilmember C. Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember E. Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Reeser.
Here.
Council President Walker.
Here.
All right, thank you. We have a full council tonight. That's great. Glad that Councilmember Erickson made it back just in the nick of time. Glad you made it safe. Thanks for your effort to be here. All right, at this time, our item number 3 on our agenda is we would like to have one of our newer officers, Officer Jared Newell, sworn in to our police department by our city attorney, Mr. Steven Zollinger. If you'll both come up to the front here, please, and we'll go ahead with that.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jared Newell,
I, Jared Newell,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Idaho,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Idaho,
the ordinances of the city of Rexburg,
the ordinance of the city of Rexburg,
and the law enforcement code of ethics.
and the law enforcement code of ethics.
I will endeavor to enforce these laws
I will endeavor to enforce these laws
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
all of the duties assigned
all of the duties assigned
or requested of me
or requested of me
in my capacity
in my capacity
as a law enforcement officer for the city of Rexburg.
as a law enforcement officer for the city of Rexburg.
And we're going to give you, the mayor's going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and your family.
Is this mic on the podium here? Do you know? Okay. Okay, Officer Newell, yeah, if you would just take a moment and just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and introduce your family to us if you'd like. We'd love to learn a little bit more about you. Whatever you'd like us to know.
All right, well, I'm Jared Newell. I've lived in Rexburg since 2011. I've worked almost the last 9 years at the sheriff's office.
Okay.
It's my family. My wife Megan. I got twin girls, Harley and Liliani, and then a almost 3-year-old, Danny. So originally from Illinois. So
Okay, great.
about it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Welcome to our Rexburg family. We appreciate you having you here. Okay. All right, item number 4 on the agenda is a time for public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda. If there's anyone that would like to make us aware of anything, we'd invite you to come to the podium and state your name and address and let us know what you'd like us to know. Is there anyone who'd like to do so? Hearing none. Is there anyone online? No one online. Okay. All right, we'll move on to item number 5. These are each of our council members are assigned different committees and people that they work with, so we'd like to have just a report at this point in time at some of these committee activities that have, anything that's been going on. Let's go ahead and just start down here to the right with Council Member Colin Erickson.
So the golf board met and just reported on this last year earnings and what it done over the last year. Both golf courses done very well. The improvements and also the people using it's been out there this year. And it continues to improve and has pulled in a lot of resources for us. So it's been a good thing for the community, the airport board, and I don't have nothing to report on the airport board right now at this time. So that's all I have to report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Well, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow for our Trails, Parks, and Recreation Committee. So we'll have more to report then. We're excited to be getting that off the ground. And I feel like if there are any other residents that are interested in serving on that committee, they could come and talk to us because we could use a few more.
Okay. So if any of you know of any people who you think might be interested or might be good on that committee, let us know and we'll contact them. If they don't volunteer, we'll contact some of them and see if we can get a few more members on there. Okay, thank you. Council President Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee has met last Thursday, and they're going to meet again next Thursday. They're working on their Halloween skits to go around to all the second graders, I believe it is.
The elementary schools.
The elementary
Yeah.
schools. So we're doing that. And the ADA Oversight Committee met last night, and they're going over some things available for the hearing impaired, some programs to the federal government's available to them. They're just working on getting all that figured out, so that's it.
Great, thank you. Yeah, just to add a little bit to that, we have a group of high school students, and some of them as young as junior high students that held the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board, and they do a lot of activities throughout the year. If any of you are interested in joining that, it's not too late. You still could just let us know, come in here and fill out an application. But they do a lot of fun things, and what Council President Walker was alluding to is one of the things they do is they do some skits. They go around to all of the elementary schools and do this little skit about how to be safe on Halloween, and they're really cute and funny, and the kids love it. And it's our Mayor's Youth kids love to do it. It's a lot of fun. And they do a lot of other service projects and different activities as well, so it's a great group. And if you're not involved this year, you could be next year, so it'd be great.
Mr. Mayor, also, they meet next Thursday at 4 o'clock right here.
Right
If
here.
anyone's interested,
Yeah.
so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and by the way, Council President Walker, thank you for taking the meeting last time. I appreciate that, and that was helpful to me, and it needed to be absent, so I appreciate your willingness to take that on short notice. All right, let's see, Councilmember Chambers.
The Madison Economic Partners met last week or the week before. We're just finishing up our bylaws, looking at expanding the committee, and we've got a couple of initiatives that we've been working on. Urban Renewal Board met today. Probably the only thing I'd mention there, and you were there, Mayor, you might add to this, but the downtown project is well underway. We're just wrapping up some land acquisition and getting some design plans drafted. And then for cultural arts, the first week of November at the Romance Theater, there will be the performance of the best Christmas pageant ever. So we have a Friday night, Saturday night, and a Monday night with a Saturday matinee. Each of the evening performances begin at 7. The matinee starts at 2.
It promises to be the best Christmas pageant ever, right? That's what the title says. So I'm sure it is. And it is a really funny story. It's going to be a great production, I think. So get your tickets now before they're all gone. Okay? Anything else?
No,
Is
that's it.
Okay, Councilmember Erickson.
We're looking forward to the meeting tomorrow with the Trails, Parks and Rec Committee. There's some good folks who have raised their hand there, and I think they'll bring some good ideas to us. Internally, we met with the Parks and Rec Monday and took a look at the pickleball courts, the condition of the pickleball courts down at the nature park, and kind of assess that and see what we need to do as far as possibly resurfacing those as maybe in the spring, and was pleasantly surprised that those courts are being used continually, and there's a lot of people involved with pickleball, and I think with the expansion of the pickleball over in Smith Park this spring, it'll be a great addition to the community. And then also the design phase of the Teton River Park is finally, I think, about there. So they're getting ready to put that out to bid, or at least to prepare the bid documents to get moving on that. I would imagine construction will probably start in the spring. But that's, there's just been some issues with both the design of the volleyball courts and the rock climbing things. So anyway, I think we're finally getting to the point where that's going to move forward. So, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Reeser.
Yeah, nothing from the Legacy Flight Museum, but from the police, I know we all received an email inviting us to go on a tour to the new Idaho Falls Police Department, and I know some of us did a few months ago when that was first offered to us. So for those of you who didn't get the opportunity to go, I would encourage you to go. It was a great.
I think they went yesterday, didn't you? Didn't a couple of you?
Oh, was it yesterday that you guys went? I knew I couldn't go, so hopefully you guys had a good experience and saw got some great ideas, and it was very instructive. It was certainly instructive when I went, so I was appreciative of them organizing that for us, and then doing it again for those that couldn't make it. So, and that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I will note that one of the other items on here is the Historical Preservation Committee, and we've, just so that you're aware, we've had a company here in town working on our historical buildings pretty much all summer long. They started over on the Tabernacle and worked on that for most of the summer, doing the repointing of the mortar in between the stones and a lot of other work that was done. And they've just pretty much redone that whole building as far as the stonework and a lot of the steps out front and the doors repainting and a lot of things, and that the building is in a lot better shape now than it was before that. It's an old building, 100 years old, or more than 100 years old, so it still needs more work. But we are working on a fundraising project to be able to do more remodeling and even do an addition on the side to make it more functional for the community. And after the Tabernacle, they moved over to the Romance Theater. They're pretty much finishing up their work. We met over there with them today to go over all of the things they'd done. And they did a lot of things there too to shore up the building so that the bricks aren't falling out. And so that we don't have leaks in the building, and not to say we still won't, but we think we've fixed a few spots, so. So both of our buildings are in much better shape than they were at the start of the year, which is a good thing because those are our two most historic buildings in town. So we've been working hard to try to preserve those and keep them in good condition. All right, at this point in time, we'll move on to item number 6 on our agenda, which is a public hearing. The purpose of a public hearing is to hear testimony from the public, obviously, on both sides of the issue that we're considering. And this issue is the annexation of approximately 360 Stationary Road into the city of Rexburg. This will be designated as ordinance number 1322 and considered first read if the motion passes. Now, what that means is, in city government, whenever you pass an ordinance, when you pass it the first time, it's considered first read, and then at our next city council meeting, it comes up again. If you notice on the back of the program, it says second and third readings under item number 10. So we always read an ordinance 3 times and vote on it just to make sure that that's what we want to do. You may have heard the term, the wheels of government move slowly, and that's kind of by design so that we try to deliberate on things and make sure that we're making good decisions for the community. So a public hearing goes as follows. We will ask for public testimony for anyone who is in favor of this particular action. And if you'd like to come up and testify in favor of it, you can come up to the podium, state your name and address. And after those in favor, we'll ask for those in the neutral position. And after the ones in the neutral position, we will ask for anyone who might be opposed to the action, so that we will hear all sides of the issue. After which we will close the public hearing, and then the council will deliberate and vote on the item. So at this time, we will open the public hearing. We declare this public hearing open. Is there anyone who would like to testify in favor of this action at this time? Please come up and to the podium, state your name and address, if there's anyone. Okay, hearing none. Is there anyone who would like to testify in the neutral position on this item? If there's no one in the neutral position, is there anyone who'd like to testify against this action at this time? Okay, if there's no one who would like to testify against this, we will declare this public hearing closed. Sorry, we can provide you with a little bit more argument both ways on that one, but apparently nobody's here to testify in the favor of any of them. There is a person by the name of Jamie Ekman that has signed up to testify. Is Jamie here? You don't necessarily need to? Okay, all right. Well, we don't want to make you feel like you didn't. Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Okay, then we will go ahead and move forward with this item. Is there any discussion from the council on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
There was a letter sent to the Taylor Corporation, ARTCO, requesting input, I guess, or,
Ms. Ekman is actually a representative of the Taylor Corp.
okay?
They're aware of it. She was sent here to observe, and if you have questions or concerns.
Okay, I just wondered if there was any response back up from that letter. Oh, this is it, okay. So nothing for or against from the Taylor Corporation? Okay.
Their inquiry was, they do want to at some point hear from Public Works as to what the difference will be, the garbage, the sewer, the water, the snow plowing. But I told Ms. Ekman that would be better discussed with Keith or Justin offline, and then also future interest in the property around their building. That you'll notice there's quite a bit of empty property being annexed as well. And so I think she's going to meet with Scott Johnson and at least open that dialogue to see if Tater Corp has any interest in working together with Scott on anything of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions? Any other further questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I was just gonna ask, the planning zone only kept talking about an island. Was that the valley that they kept pointing out? And we don't see the screen when they're talking about it, but they kept bringing up this island. So I don't know if Alan's here or whoever could talk about what they were talking about.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
What happens is when you create an island within the city, then you have the ability to come in and annex that into the city. It's called an enclave, and we have the power to do that in a forced annexation. At the time we do this, they weren't an island, and until you approve it, they're not an island, so we couldn't do them at the same time. We did reach out to them and ask them if they wanted to participate, and they says, no, we'll wait till the next round.
So I'm not talking about this one. They kept talking about another one that we're creating another island. And is that the valley? I wonder if that's the
It's the
valley.
Valley one, yes, that's the one that we reached out to
That's an
them
island.
and tried to include them
They didn't
in
want it.
this, and they didn't want to.
Okay, that's what.
This will create an island of theirs.
I know.
But it's an island anyway, so
Well, it will be
now
now.
they'll just be an island unto themselves. Yeah, so,
I just want to understand that because
Yes.
we don't see the screen when we're trying to go through that and learn about that. So that's what it is. Okay, thank you.
okay, any other questions?
So.
Yes.
My question would be, why did we not include that in this annexation?
Because they weren't an island until this annexation is complete.
Oh,
And
I see.
Go ahead and address that, Mr. Zollinger.
Tater Corp has been receiving city services for a number of years. So they were annexable at any time. We had simply not annexed them because they have been pretty good neighbors for us, and they still are good neighbors for us. The city has not grown past them. As the city has grown past them, it became apparent that they were going to be encapsulated within developed property. We don't have the same option with Valleywide because they don't receive our services and they were not an island. So we had no option for annexing them other than voluntary.
But we do now.
If you complete this.
Probably don't. Alan thinks we do, but I don't think we do.
Okay.
Because we didn't create the island circumstance until after July 1st, then it would be a much harder action right now.
Okay.
because of the state.
Well,
They're not something that we're concerned
No.
about because they're not prohibiting any growth.
No.
They're not in any way inhibiting our progress. We run into Sugar City directly across the street from them, so quite frankly, they don't really pose an issue for us.
Okay, any further questions? If there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion to move forward on this item. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve ordinance number 1322 and consider it first read.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Council President Walker. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We will proceed forth with that annexation. All right, we'll proceed now with our staff reports. We'll start out with our finance report with our CFO, Mr. Matt Nielsen.
Okay, good evening. I'm going to hit the finance reports here first. So this report represents the final month of the fiscal year. And of course, we're not done with the accounting yet. You know, it's going to take a month or two to close out the books. And so as I go through this investment, I'll just mention a few things about the investment, a few things that have kind of been changing over the last month or two, or really since the last time we met a month or so. A couple of things we've done, we've definitely reinvested on a few CDs over the last month. The biggest thing that we're doing right now, you'll notice that we've got about 4.2 million in the diversified bond fund. We've had that in there for decades, long time. And we made a move probably about 5 years ago and moved out a substantial part of that. And then we've been watching the market for the opportune time to pull it back out. And so we are going to do that. We're going to initiate that and get that back the 1st of November. And what that will do is it will allow us to invest that ourselves into, our own agencies or CDs, put it on our own ladder so that we can say when it matures, those kind of things. And so that, I think, will be a really good move for us. And then what we'll do is we'll probably move the majority of it to managed investment accounts. So TVI or Morton is probably where we'll go with that. And then as we're reinvesting, I've been telling you this for a few months now, we're still continuing to look to really those 2 to 4 years in duration, because we feel like we're going to get a better return if we put it out there instead of just going with the 12 to 15-month return. And so we're continuing to extend our ladder, if you will. We're still getting good reinvestments, though. I mean, Frontier, the one that we just did, I think we negotiated that with them to like 4.7, which is pretty good for an 18-month CD right now. And that was after the market drop, right? After the Feds had lowered rates.
Matt, is there, so the Morton is doing really well. The TVI bond is lower and it's got $10 million in it. Can we move some of that into a higher one, or what's the?
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's got the right percent on that 2.74. I'd have to ask Scott on that, because that seems a little low to me.
Yeah.
We're definitely laddered out a little farther with TVI, so our strategy has been to look at the long-term return, but we're shifting Morton that way. But Morton's dead on. We just met with them 2 weeks ago, and our returns last year were over 5% with Morton.
That's awesome.
It's really good. So, and then the other thing that I just want to point out here that is important is over the next few months, you'll continue to see the cash and investments drop, several $1 million per month. And that's typical. We will consume or expend more money than we'll take in until probably about January. And we know that that's part of our cash flow predictions and everything, but just something to note. So, any questions on the investments?
Any questions from anyone?
Okay, let me jump in the other one. Right. Oh, wow, we'll make that a little bigger for the audience. So the thing that I would mention on this is, as I went through this, we did a little bit more forecasting, year-end forecasting on this. Some of the things that stood out, recreation programs did a great job. I foresee them actually being able to carry over some funds, which they haven't done for probably over 10 years. And so that's a good thing. As I keep looking at these, some of the other things, sanitation, you can see that we built our reserve up fairly high on that one to about 2.2 million. But we just did issue the purchase order for the new shop, and that's going to probably run about 1.1 million. So we're going to use about half of that on that capital asset. Water and wastewater, if you add up all of the funds, water's running at about a 10 million reserve. We're running at about 12 million on the sewer, which we will need, especially in the sewer as we build out those capital projects over the next few years in our capital plan. Another one that I'll just note real quick, new City Hall building, you can see as we've either City Hall or police building, we're at about 1.7 million right now that we have in reserve on that, and that will continue to grow as well. And the other thing I'll note, Colin actually kind of already noted it, but golf operations, this has been kind of a banner year in terms of finances for golf. It's been a great year. Couple things that we're going to be doing. You can see the carryover is at about 734 on the cash side. On the debt, we will pay off that $186,000 of debt with the transfer in the next month when we do those year-end transfers. And then just keep in mind that will really shift to a savings fund for the irrigation. And so we're going to start setting aside money for the irrigation replacement. So I don't know, are there any questions on the budget report?
Any further questions for Matt?
Okay.
I guess we're good.
And I'll just update, Brian had asked me if I just give a quick update on, we'd met with you guys, it's probably been maybe 6 weeks now since we talked about the potential police building, and we brought back, remember, the estimate. What we've been doing since then is I've been working with Justin and Josh and Gary internally, so just the four of us really. We have taken and drafted an RFQ to go out and get a CMGC, Construction Manager General Contractor. It's still a draft form, and so what we're trying to do now is Josh is trying to set up a meeting to really pull together whoever would be on that committee to basically go through that selection process. And the way that we're trying to lay that out right now is to basically get a contract where we could obtain, what it is that we'd be building, what would it look like, how much would it cost, all of those things. And then look at the option of going out to a general obligation bond. And that may require an architect. We're not sure how far we want to take that. Because once you start engaging an architect, then you're talking about a lot more money.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we want to spend that much money until we know what our funding source is on it. And so we can bring that RFQ back to the council if you want to see that, or we can work through that committee. Our thoughts on the committee were to have a few council members, those staff members that I mentioned, and the mayor. Probably try to limit those to 6 to 8 people. And so that's kind of the direction we're going on that right now. And keep in mind, the qualification process is just selecting, and then we would still have to negotiate a contract. And you would have to approve that contract. So that would come back. And then Brian had asked if there'd been any further discussions in regards to the property that the school district owns. As you know, they put that out for RFP. They got 3 responses, and they're going to be considering those, I think, Thursday night, if I remember. Mm-hmm. We met as an urban renewal board, and we did figure out what an analysis of that property would cost for 6 different scenarios of how that could redevelop. And that would be something that urban renewal is willing to pay for, but only after we determine the direction that the school district's going to go on that. Because if they choose to sell the property, then we wouldn't expend those dollars for that purpose. So, any questions? Does that help give you guys an update on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
You can go.
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
Maybe I'm not quite understanding the process, so we didn't bid on it, so then
Nope.
if they accept one of those other bids, then it's out of the question anyway?
Well, it would be, it depends. We don't know what their proposals are, but likely someone else would own the property, a private.
And then you'd work through them, is what you're saying? Would be an option.
We don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know. For sure what a developer might do. They might have an interest in working with us on something too, so, yeah.
And then, so I know urban renewal wouldn't be able to, I don't know how much money you're talking about them, maybe that's what were you gonna help us understand that? No.
Oh, well, it's 15,000
For the analysis.
for the analysis.
And then you would, then next steps would be that you would,
I think
like,
next steps is we got to see what the school district decides.
okay.
So
So then we would hear in a council meeting and find out if we're interested in budgeting money for that.
Well, urban renewal would make that
That's an urban
decision
renewal
on the
board.
analysis, and they've already agreed.
They already voted on that today.
But urban renewal couldn't do the whole project, right?
Oh,
So
yeah, no.
I'm saying
No.
if you were trying to take steps,
Yes.
we would hear and
All
talk about
all
budgeting and
urban
everything.
renewal would be doing is paying for that study.
Right.
Which would then come back, and then you could look at the 6 scenarios, and then look at the analysis of what kind of property tax would come back on those developments.
And then that would be brought to the council.
Yeah, it would be available to the full council, for sure.
Yeah, that'll help us give us more vision on what's the best direction to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yeah, could you crystal ball this for us? with the police station RFQ,
Yes.
assuming that everything comes out beautifully, are we looking at a general bond election next November?
Shoot, I should have pulled it up.
That,
I can't remember if it was November or May. It might have been May. Not
We-
this next
we
May,
can do it-
but the
oh.
following May. But, because I don't think I think we determined that we may not be able to make that November one. And so that would be part of the process, is we'd have to talk through that timeline. And so, but it would either be November of '25, or it would be May of '26. One of those two. That'd be the soonest you could do it anyway.
How far along through the process do we need to be able to, to let the public know what's going to happen so that they can make a decision about a bond?
Right.
And what I'm saying is, we don't have to have plans and how far along in this process do we need to be?
I think that we need to understand what we're asking for, like how much money we're asking for. And so, we're going to have to work with them to determine a better estimate, if you will, as we work through that process. I would imagine it would take several months to scale it to the size that's acceptable to what we want. And then they would have to come back with those cost estimates. You would have to make a determination if you want to provide any type of drawing or concept so that they understand what it looks like. And then there may be the question of, do you want the public to know where it's going to go? And so you'd have to make a decision where it would go or potential locations. And so you got to work through really all of those aspects. And then you would have to notify the county clerk, I think do you remember, Deborah, is it 90 days out? I can't remember, but it's many months out that you have to notify. And then you have to have a period where you can, you have to get it out there to the public, right? So that they have an opportunity to look at the information, and then once it goes to vote, they know what they're voting for. And I'm sure there would be analysis of, how much would this cost me if I vote for it, right? There's a structure in how you have to lay out that question to the public. And so really, you'd have to do all of that. And I think it would take a while. I mean, we don't even anticipate selecting the CMGC until probably January to February at the earliest, in that time frame. And then you have to negotiate the contract, then you have to go do the work, then you have to notify the clerk, then you have to put it out. And so, as you can imagine, it takes many, many months.
can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So how much can the council be involved in that too, if it's for a general obligation bond? Like, can we be in, I know I heard Spencer once when Steven was gone saying that we couldn't be involved, or maybe I misunderstood.
What do you mean, like, as far as what kind of involvement are you looking for?
We can't,
Yeah, like-
like advocating for it.
And we can't spend can we spend city money on it? No, we can't, right?
No.
So when you say an
Well, when you
architect,
say city money, like, you can't do it advocating it, but you can
but
certainly.
you can pay for the architect and things.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah, because we have to know what we're
Yeah.
asking, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we just
wanna
can't
be
spend
pretty
money
clear
on
that.
advocating one way or the other, yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
to sway the vote.
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
Okay.
okay. Any others?
Mr. Mayor, in talking to
Yeah.
the chief, when we went down on that tour yesterday, I believe, was, that's just trying to come up with a good plan for our community and what we can afford. I mean, we can't afford $30 million what Idaho Falls put in. And that's a lot bigger than we need. And we've got to be very understandable of our taxpayer money. And I think that's the start of it. Just come up and saying, this is the plan, this is what we're looking at, this is what facilitates us for the next 20, 30 years. So we're not just building a small one and adding on every 10 years, something that we can grow into. Idaho Falls did that. They predict that's going to be the next 30 to 40 years in that building. They promised the council and the city that they'd keep that for 30 at least without asking anymore. So it's a growth aspect, and no one knows the future, but I think it's just a start to get the plan out there to the public.
Yeah, and the other thing that I mean, you can consider, I believe the last time we met, the direction was to look at a new police building. The other option is you can have the CMGC also give you numbers on a remodel. But I don't know that you want to go there. And that's something that you would have to decide, but that's certainly an option as well, is they could come back and say, if you build a new, it's X dollars. If you do a remodel, it's this much.
Well, I think we
And
should
then
have
you could
something
consider
to
that
compare
option
it
as
to.
well.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would assume that we'll be hearing something very soon about the formation of this committee. Is Chief Rhodes here?
Yeah, I guess the question we would have, I mean, if you guys want to tell us who you want represented from the city council on that committee, we're happy to contact those individuals. So,
I did talk to Chief Rhodes about being on that committee, so.
Oh,
just wanted to make
definitely.
that
He will
clear
be.
that- Yeah, so.
Yeah, probably him.
and I mean, if you really want, you can all be on the committee, but then it's a public meeting kind of thing, right? It gets a little messier. Probably easier to have a couple of you, and then, of course, that would come back to the whole council. And so, I guess I would ask that question, you know, like, if we could have Brianna do it, is there another individual that you want us to look at?
I'd love to do it. I've been asked to be the liaison with the police department. I'd love to do it. My only concern is, as, you know, having a full-time job, I don't want to impede the ability of the committee to meet, you know, because it would have to be after 4.
Maybe we could have you be on it with an alternate in case you can't be there, we could have an alternate.
We could do that, but I'd love to be on the committee, but, you know.
Meeting
during the
after
day would be a
4
problem.
that's not an issue. We can definitely meet after 4,
Okay.
Yeah.
so.
Then, yeah, I'd
that's-
love to.
And I mean, we do have a police oversight committee. Just him and
Yeah, we'll
me.
take a look
I don't
at that
know
and
who
see.
The other one is, but it could
Yeah.
be the oversight committee too, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's why we have it.
I'll chat with Josh. That's kind of the next step, to be honest, is to get that committee together and see the draft that we've developed. And, which is, like I say, a draft, right? It could change, so. Okay, all right.
And how many can we have on that committee? Is it 2 or 3 before we go into a quorum?
3 at the very most, yeah. We have 3 on the oversight committee.
Okay. Is it,
And
is
2.
it, if the mayor's on the committee, are they good with 3? Or is it 2?
It's a gray area. Go with the-
It's always a gray area.
2 is a better number.
Okay,
The way the statute reads is, no, you can't have a quorum present. And the quorum of the council is 4, but 3 in the mayor, if I was being asked.
It's still not a quorum, though,
Next,
right?
I would call it a quorum. So,
yeah, when we discussed it originally, we felt like the mayor and 2 was ideal. Also to just keep the size of the committee a little lower. It's just, we've just found it's a lot more efficient if there's 6 to 8 versus 10 to 12 people, you know? So,
Hard
I mean,
to
I
get
believe there's
everybody's schedules.
quite a few people would like to be on the committee. I mean, I wouldn't mind being on it because I was an officer for 30 years plus, but I mean, I don't want to take away from the person that's over the police department right now. He definitely needs to be on there, in my opinion, so it's who you decide and
Yeah.
just move forward and continue to work on this.
Yeah, we'll look at that and decide what we want to do for sure.
I am just going to throw the question out there because I think it would help us as a committee, but do you want us to consider more than just a new building? Do you want us to look at a potential remodel?
I think we definitely need to, because otherwise we have nothing to compare to. I mean,
Any feasible option.
yeah,
But the difficulty is, and I didn't really appreciate this until I took the tour, is how unique the construction is for a police department.
Yeah.
And it may drive your costs up to remodel, but we won't know that unless we ask. So I wouldn't mind looking at all
right.
options.
That's the thing. I mean, you don't know until you ask the question. It's like only looking at one car, you know. And of course, according to Councilmember Erickson, you only need to look at one brand, but other people might beg to differ.
And Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure that we look at it in the form that we do a police department. I don't care about looking at other places that we go into, that's a good idea, but I want to make sure this is facilitate a police department, so we're not doing what we're doing and putting up, I mean, it's unique. It's a unique building. The evidence room down there was crazy on it took over a third of the building just in evidence alone. And so police departments are different than any other building on the security, on what you put in them and what comes out of them, so.
All right.
It's true.
Should I jump to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this one is a budget adjustment for fiscal year '25. What this is, so Chief Child and Miskin have been talking with the county commissioners for quite a while now, many months, and then, of course, staff as well. And they are desiring that we bring over and do basically the bookkeeping, accounting, and investing in behalf of the ambulance district. And we do this already for the fire district, and so we're very familiar with the process. I mean, granted, they're a little bit different because the ambulance district has charges for services that are involved as well.
Bringing that over from the county, are they doing it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the county does it now. And so basically, it would be, we already have a fund for the ambulance district because they asked us last year to start investing money for them and in their behalf. And so when you think about this fund, it's really a custodial fund. We act in a fiduciary capacity. They still have the obligation to certify their L2 for property tax. They still have to have a public hearing to pass their budget each year. It's really, we're just doing the accounting, auditing, investing, budgeting, et cetera. And it is a little unique because when you think of the joint venture agreement that we have, you know, we are already doing the bulk of the accounting through the operating fund, through Fund 17. And so what I told the commissioner and the group is that if they do have other purchases in that fund, and then I told them we're going to start doing it for the fire district as well, that go beyond Fund 17, then I'm going to include that in the overhead calculation, and they'll pay for those services. And so, as an overhead rate. And so, you know, I'm okay with this. I mean, it definitely adds more work to especially finance. But, you know, the chiefs feel very, very confident that it will be better for their process. You know, it's a little different because it's internal now, so we would have to create a transfer from that fund to Fund 17. And when you look at it, I mean, it's not a small budget by any means. It's 2.55 million is the budget. And so we would have to pass a budget adjustment to establish that budget so that we could then, you know, do that accounting. So really, that's what it is. That's the request from the chiefs, and this is what it would look like essentially.
Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm so sorry that I'm a little confused. So money from the city is going to be in that fund, or we are just overseeing?
Just overseeing. So their revenue sources are property tax, and then they charge, like if you get transported in an ambulance. And there is a separate collection agency already established that does all that collecting. What we would have to do is reconcile it. So we would have to reconcile it to the bank statements, put it into the general ledger. So there is definitely, you know, some time on our part. And then we would take it through our budget process as a custodial fund. They would still take it through their budget process as well.
And so would they follow all the protocols that we follow? Like,
Yep.
if there was any bids, they would get bids and they would do all the things properly that maybe
Yeah, they're still
are
to get
lacking in
bids.
some other areas?
I mean, it's a little bit of a gray area, like on their capital purchases. You know, if it's operating things, we still require them to get all those bids, but we generally haven't purchased their capital in the past. And so I mean, I still think it's their call, who they purchase it from. But generally, they're going to be getting bids because they're going to be over the state limits anyways. Like if they go buy an ambulance, they have to go get bids by statute. And so I don't have any concerns about that, really.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
will this require any additional personnel on your part? You've got
No.
enough people in place to take this on?
Yep. Yeah, it would really, it would take, Corey, you have to think of it this way, Corey and Troyce are already involved, right? They're already involved in this process. They would still have their own bank account. They happen to bank at Key Bank. We would work, my staff would work with Corey and Troyce to initiate those payments, like for their quarterly operating costs or any capital, those kind of things. And so there is, some time that's involved in it. Probably not as much as you think, but yeah, definitely we would have to absorb it into our workload.
So can I ask why the county doesn't want to continue to do this?
Well, they have been asked by the chiefs to take it off because the chiefs feel like it's a little easier for them to understand the budget and where they're at. They also like the way, honestly, that we invest it. And so, they already moved that over to us to try to start to do that. And so it's a little easier for them to get information from us because they're already doing that on 4 or 5 different funds that we manage in their behalf. And so this just kind of brings it all under the same roof, if you will, for accounting purposes. And so it's more like a one-stop shop for them to come over and say, hey, give us the financials for everything that is in our purview, right? That we have oversight over.
So more efficiency than anything else?
Yeah.
Efficiency and convenience, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
Matt,
any other, yeah.
Matt, is there any type of finances that would help out your department as you take this load back on? Or do you just taking the load on to be able to carry this?
Well, I already told them, if when I said to them, I said, any operating costs, I'm gonna charge you an overhead rate. And they're like, well, we won't have any operating costs. Well, the fire district says that same thing, but they do. And so if they do, I'm just gonna charge it to them. And I told them that. And then the other thing that I told them is they have to make their payments on time. If the city starts to cash flow in their behalf, then we're gonna charge them an interest expense. And if they don't like that, then they can make their payments on time. And so that's the kind of the story I've relayed. And if they don't like paying the interest, they'll start making their payments on time. So.
I just want to make sure we're covered. If you have to hire another person down the road,
We're not
in 10 or 15 years down the road, if they get bigger or whatever, as we grow, that some of this helps cover, that the city don't take all this back on. So-
Yeah.
Well, that would be covered in the overhead, wouldn't it?
It's covered, yeah, you have to remember, we're accounting, when you look at that $2.5 million budget, we are already accounting for, well, it should be there, let me look for the transfer. Almost 2.2 million of that 2.5 million, we're already charging an overhead on that. And so that's why I'm saying, they're already paying us some of that money. And it's just in Fund 17. And so, and I think, like, their overhead, I think this year was like 280 something, if I remember. And then that's split amongst the 3 entities. But you gotta also remember that overhead that they pay is not just finance. It's legal, it's IT, it's HR, it's all of those services.
Yeah. All the admin. Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you. Good questions, good to understand that better. If there are no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to move forward with this item number 2.
Mr. Mayor, I shall move that we approve the proposal and budget adjustment to create the custodial fund for Madison County Ambulance District.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Colin Erickson. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will go ahead with that item. Item number 3.
Okay, last one. So this is So the mayor, I think it was the mayor and me were first introduced to this, what they call CPACE, which stands for Commercial Property Assessed Capital Expenditure, if you want to know what it means. But anyways, when we first saw this program, we were both kind of like, why do they need the city for this? And so we got on the phone with one of the biggest lenders of it, Nuveen is their name, and then we actually talked to a local developer that is going through this process and would like to use this method. They have a project that's already underway over by Trejo. And so we talked to several people. We included Steven Zollinger, our legal counsel, got a pretty good understanding of it. And so initially we were like, as I mentioned, why would cities even need to be involved? And I'll tell you why here in just a second. But anyways, what it is Idaho code passed this law that basically says that local entities like a city can go out and they can create a resolution and they can adopt the ability to have this CPACE program. And what the CPACE program is if a commercial development comes in, and it can also be a housing development, they have to have more than 5 units, if I remember right, for housing. If they come in and they make if this resolution's been passed, they can make application to use this program. And the money doesn't come from the city. The money comes from private lender, another lender, and basically that lender comes in and they provide financing for that project, but only if they meet certain qualifications. And some of those qualified improvements can be energy efficiency, consumption, could be renewable energy, water conservation, it could be creates resiliency. So in essence, what they're saying is we're going to build something that's above the standard, the building standard. And some of the benefits for a community are that if you're building above the standard, then there might be some efficiencies for maybe less fire calls that go out to there, less water use, maybe there's less energy use, right, for Rocky Mountain Power. And then the other thing that it does for the developer is it allows them to get, in this case, a lower interest loan. And so this particular developer that we talked to said, I think I wrote it down, but he said that he was able, if he goes through this program versus a conventional loan, he said that he would get about a 40 to 50% reduction in his interest rate. So it's a pretty big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, and so what it does is it potentially makes a project work, right? Or it potentially brings a project to the forefront and to get it to happen sooner, which of course creates tax benefits for the entities. And so that's kind of what the program is. And what we have to do as a city is we have to kind of administer it. They have to go through an application process. They have to have an engineer certify that they're meeting the qualifications. And then we actually file a lien pretty much in their behalf. And what happens is, let's say that a developer's went out, they already have a loan, and then they get this CPACE loan. This CPACE loan jumps in front of this other one in lien position. And then there's a way for them to actually go through the, I guess they'd have to go through probably the assessor, and then they can, if it becomes delinquent, they can go assess that, almost like a tax, right, and get their money back. And so the good thing is if the city has a lien, like an LID, we're still first position, so we don't give up our first position. So really, we have no liability or financial responsibility. Our administrative cost, we can actually charge a 1%. I don't think we need to charge the 1%. It seems like a lot because they do. It's 1% of whatever the loan amount is, so it can up to $50,000, so it can be a pretty substantial number. But we can also charge a $500 application fee. And honestly, at this point, until we kind of see what the program really takes, I'd probably just charge the $500 at this point and see how it goes. So it really becomes an economic tool that Scott Johnson can use and can let people know about. But the only way that they can do it is if we pass this resolution in our community.
In fact, since you brought that point up, the people who are trying to develop the corner over here, we call it affectionately Horner's Corner, over here, they've been struggling to try to make it work because they were applying for a different a grant program to try to get some low-income money or something like that to be able to make that work over there. And I called her and asked her if she knew about this program, and she was like, no, we've not heard of it, but she was all excited about it, so I think just by having this in place and letting some of the other developers know about it, it might help to be able to get some better quality housing and, maybe at kind of normal rents instead of, that same quality of housing would probably have to go for a higher rent. So in a way, it helps it to keep the housing prices a little bit more affordable too, and have good quality housing and not just junk going in. So it seems like, we've looked at it at a lot of different angles, and Stephen was nervous that it was legal at first, but then when we found out that, the sublender has to sign off on it, in order for them to jump in front of them on the priority, then, he felt good about it. So we feel good about it and think it's something that will be helpful. Any questions?
Is this, basically, it's just the city's just the paperwork? Just part of the paperwork and make the decision type thing, right?
Yeah.
And just take the
We take them
application.
through the application process. And we're not the ones, hiring these engineers that certify if they've met the qualifications, but we do have to review it and kind of give our stamp of approval, if you will.
Yeah, they have kind of a checklist. We just
They-
have to
they
go
have
through
their
it
own
and
engineer,
make sure
or they
that
can hire
it meets
whoever they
all.
want.
Yeah, and these are, these companies that are doing this, they're very familiar with it. They have people that are gonna walk the developer right through it. They're probably gonna hold our hand through the whole process. They've already sent us pretty much all the paperwork on it, so.
Yeah.
And what you're approving tonight, if you approve it, is you're approving a resolution to set a public hearing, and then you have to have the public hearing, and then you'll pass another resolution to adopt the program.
Does that sound good? Any questions? All right, at this time, then, I would entertain a motion to set a public hearing, right?
We're going to do that for November 6th.
What's that?
November 6th is what we're shooting for.
Oh, to do the public hearing? Okay, to set a public hearing for November 6th. So is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilmember Reeser. Okay, any further discussion or questions on that item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will go ahead and move forward with that and set the public hearing for November the 6th. Okay. All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Matt, appreciate that. All right, item number 7B is the Public Works Report, and Mr. Justin Beard is representing Keith Davidson tonight.
We have several items that are proposed to be surplused. Some ice skates from the rec department, a 92 Ford F-150, and an International Harvester disc from the wastewater. So we just need approval for those to be surplused. Are there any questions about any of that?
Are we not using ice skates anymore? What are we doing with that?
I don't know anything about the ice skates, sorry. Does anybody?
Well, what we decided on that is this, since and I shouldn't say what we decided, what we thought we would bring up, and I guess it's up to you folks to decide. But what we thought is we would, at first we thought about doing the ice skating rink this year because the new one is not going to be done until probably spring or at least after the holidays for sure. But the rec department would like to be able to focus on cross-country skiing and some events and more of those kind of things out there. And there is a private ice skating rink out in Sugar City that does a pretty good job of doing the rinks and things like that. And so we felt like maybe the cost, because our liner, every year it gets cut up, right? So we'd have to buy a new liner probably, which is a couple of $1,000s. And so we thought, well, maybe since the new one's gonna be coming online pretty soon, and we've got the one out there that people can go to, maybe we would just not put ours up this year. Thoughts on that? Anybody have heartburn over that?
I think the one that we have is a little hard to use anyway, right? Because it's hard to get it to
It
freeze
is.
just right.
Well, yeah, it's weird. You wouldn't think it'd be hard to keep ice frozen in Rexburg in the wintertime, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
The sun comes out, melts it, and then it gets rough, and then when it snows, and then it's hard to get it off very good. And it's just not been great, honestly. In order to be better ice, we'd really need to put a cover over it so that it keeps the sun off of it. And then, of course, that's more money. So that was kind of, we talked about a lot of those things and tried to decide, oh, well, should we do it one more year, should we not? And the rec department, they felt like they'd like to move on and try to focus their time on doing some other things. And so that was that's why we brought this up, is to go ahead and surplus those, and maybe we can sell them to the guy out there in Sugar so that he can have a bigger selection, or whoever wants them, kind of a thing. So, any other thoughts on that? Anybody have any issues? Okay.
Can I say one more thing? I think that I go over to the golf course a lot in the winter, and the little wee rider that you can put a baby or a small child in and skate them along. I think we only have one of those, I think. So
Maybe use some of
Yeah.
the money to get another one.
to get another one of those,
That's a
because I
good
feel like it was
idea.
really popular for people who have small children.
Yeah,
so.
I'll make a note of that. Maybe buy another. Is that they call it the Burley, or is that a different?
So Burley
Okay.
Wee or something like that.
I'd say a couple of them.
Yeah.
They're popular.
Burley or two. Yeah, depending on how much we
Encourage
get.
families go out there.
Yeah. Okay, and then we got any of those other items? Any questions about the other items? Okay. All right, then I would entertain a motion to go ahead with the surplus sale.
I'll make a motion that we surplus the items as stated.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Eric Erickson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, we will surplus those items. Thank you. Let's see, Justin, item number 2.
Okay, this one is a professional services agreement with Adura. They're the consulting company that's been working with us on the airport for many years now. So this agreement is for a total of $448,138. And what they're doing, this is for the environmental review of the proposed airport site, and we need to look at other land to swap for that site with the BLM. So we'll look at environmental issues at the airport site and the swapping land. So this is actually only part of the environmental review that will be required for the airport. The city's portion of this will be 10%. So FAA covers the rest.
About 44,000. Let's see,
Oh, city and county, sorry.
city and county, right? So ours will only be half of about 22,000 or something, right?
So did I understand that right? We're only obligated for half of 10% of that?
Right,
Yes.
about 22,000-ish.
Okay.
And it's probably worth mentioning, we have a fund specifically for these projects where we have money reserved for this.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right, if there are no further questions about this, I'd entertain a motion to move forward on this agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve the professional service agreement with Adura.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Council President Walker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move forward with that contract. Item number 3.
Okay, the next one is an agreement with Forsgren Associates to do the Fifth West feasibility study. So this is to look at the options and requirements to extend Fifth West from the fairgrounds across the river to the cemetery, Rexburg Cemetery. So the total of this contract is $90,000. This comes from the Thriving Communities program we've been involved with over the last couple of years. So they're paying for it 100%. And Forsgren was selected in the last council meeting to do this work. And so this is their contract, so their scope to use that $90,000 for that feasibility study.
Okay. Is there any questions about this? If none, I would entertain a motion to approve this agreement.
Well, I know the answer, I think, but Justin, we talked about negotiating with Forsgren a timetable that would ensure our being able to apply for grant dollars.
Yep,
Did they
and
meet-
and they've included that in their agreement, that they will have the information we need ready by January or February when that grant application will be due.
Then, Mr. Mayor, I will make the motion that we approve the professional services agreement with Forsgren.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Alan Erickson. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I have
Yes.
just one question on that. We stopped in the cemetery. Why haven't we looked at going clear up to Moody Road?
Well, it's an existing road, but it's definitely a narrow road. It's going to have to be widened someday for sure.
So should that be in the study or not, or just get to that cemetery?
Well, this scope doesn't include that, but we definitely will have to look at it in the future.
Okay.
Because, yeah, if we dump a lot of traffic right at that intersection,
Yeah, that's what-
it'll
that's-
be very narrow to handle all of that.
Yeah. Okay, I would let's see, we had a motion and a second, right? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes as well. Item number 4.
So this is an amended scope to the existing agreement we have with JUB Engineers. So this is for the Riverside Lift Station. This replaces the Valley River Lift Station or the Kmart Lift Station. And this sets us up to be able to run the new line north to Sugar City. We've been meeting with JUB and talking about schedule on this, and they've committed to have the information we need by very early spring, late winter, so we can bid that out and get it constructed while groundwater is at its lowest. And then they'll give us the final design a couple months later, so we can bid out everything else. And the total for this is $209,000. Got that? $209,900 for this contract amendment with JUB. Any other questions on this one?
We had that all budgeted, right?
Yeah, it's all budgeted. Yeah. Okay, is there any further questions about this item? If none, I would entertain a motion to approve this agreement.
I'll make that motion to approve this agreement with JUB Engineering.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Johnson. Okay, there's the amount right there for $209,900. Okay. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, we will move forward with all of these items and get some things going. Okay, any further questions about anything for Justin?
I do have a question for Justin. Could we bring up Coyote Willow map down on 12th West? I brought this up a couple times, and I think we need to get it done before winter. And just see where it is. The sidewalk there that leads from Coyote Willow out to 12th West has been not there for over a year, almost. And
On the south side of the road at the intersection? Yes,
we
and
have kids trying to cross there, we have kids moving in that area, and we have no sidewalk.
So
Talking about that strip right there.
He's right across the ditch, right?
Right over here, just go to the left,
Right at the intersection.
right at the
with 12th
intersection, right on the
West.
south side there.
Yes, that's part of that child pedestrian grant we received, and we called the contractor last week and said, we've got to have this done this year. It's been going on for over a year that they haven't been back. I mean, they pulled off because Rocky Mountain Power hadn't finished moving all the poles back on 12th West, because we have to widen out some of those intersections. But some of these things, yes, we need them back, and we
That's why I
called
just
them
wanted
last
to
week.
make sure we get on that, get that tidied up and working for the youth getting across there and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are rapid flash crossings going in at 2 locations as well, and those
There,
need to
and
be
one
in.
Yeah, is that going to be soon?
Yeah, we have the equipment just sitting, waiting for the contractor to come back and put the ramps in and everything.
Who's the contractor on that?
JM Concrete, I think?
Okay, so you've been talking to him, saying we're putting the
Joel was on the
pressure
phone with them last week, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Do they already have our money?
No, we have not paid them.
Okay.
But this is a state grant, and we need to get it done so we don't lose the state grant, for sure.
Okay,
I
good
ask
reminder.
One more
Yes.
question? So I did talk to Keith about this, but I just wanted to double check. Discussing the parking
that-
at Porter Park, are we going to do that?
Yeah, that's on
in
that's
November?
gonna be on our agenda next meeting, November 6th, yeah. They're kind of preparing a little presentation for us on that, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that, okay. So, Mayor's Report, item number 8, I will just report that I am participating again in the Mayor's Walking Challenge, averaging about 14,000 steps a day. I get up and walk with a bunch of ladies in the morning, and that really helps to get a lot of steps going, so. And I learn everything about how to solve all of our problems by walking with that bunch of ladies too, so that really helps. It is kind of fun, actually. And I'm participating with the Madison Middle School this year. Now, just so that you know, the last 2 years, the money that I've earned from it, we put in a savings account to go towards the inclusive whirl that we're gonna put in Smith Park. And if you've been over there lately, you'll see that we've dug it all up and we've got some concrete installed and we're ready to get that put in. I was really hoping we could get it in before the nice weather went away, but unfortunately, we've had some delays in the materials and things like that, so we're hoping to get that in here just in the next couple of weeks, but I'm excited to get that in and put in, so. Yeah, and Councilmember Johnson, you mentioned I was gonna just mention here too, that we're gonna have that presentation on parking around Porter Park and snow plowing and stuff next time, so we will do that. Let's see, let's move on. I've got one more item, but it's not really anything that needs to be reported here. It's more unfortunately, about our Christmas party, council party, so we'll talk about that at the end. So, let's move on to item, did you
Could
have
I
a
ask
question?
you one question?
Yeah.
I wanted some clarification on, so we all got an email from Aaron Denny about gave the housing presentation like a year ago. And he said he wanted to sit down with each of us individually, at least, I don't know, did anyone else read it? Is that what you got from it too?
I thought it was with all of us in a meeting like this.
Because okay, that's what I'm hoping, because it says, I'll be asking to sit down with each of you to discuss the report. He means in a public meeting, right?
I would
With
think
all of
so.
us?
I think so. He's
Okay,
just
good.
probably just worded it a little
Okay,
weird,
good.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it was.
Just wants to make sure each of you are here.
Okay, good.
The webinar that he sent out was something you just go out and watch, but that was just my impression as well, so.
So when he says sit down with each of you, though, well, could we clarify that somehow? And, because I would be more comfortable if we all got to hear this information at the same time in a public meeting rather than one-on-one with him, so.
Yeah, we'll talk to him about that, just to make sure that that's what he meant.
Okay.
So, okay, I'll mention that there. Okay, next item is item number 9A, Planning and Zoning Recommendation to approve a rezone at approximately 222 West, 2nd North, from low-density residential 2 to low-density residential 3. This would be designated as ordinance number 1323 and considered first read if the motion passes. So, let's see, Alan, are you still here? Okay. Do you want to explain to us about this just a little bit?
Yes, this property is a house that in the past had been a duplex. They had some issues that came up with it. They stopped using it, and they lost their grandfathered clause of being a duplex. They came in, wanted to put a duplex back in. Because of the changes we'd made in the size of lots, their lot is too small. So the only option for him was to ask for a upzone to be able to put the duplex back in on this property. So then he applied for the rezone so that he can then put it back, is what's going on.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments about this item in particular?
I know there was quite a
Curious,
bit.
what are the zones? Are they all?
You've got MDRs, HDRs all through that area.
The zoning map up. Yep, it's the,
Any comments or if there are no questions, do you have a comment?
That makes a lot more sense because I don't know if anyone else listened to planning and zoning, but it was really, really confusing.
It was,
So-
and what happened on that was we thought somebody else was going to present. Myself, Kyle, and Katie were out of town. At the last minute, it got dropped in Natalie's lap.
And she did a great
job with what information she had.
Yeah.
The conversations were things that I had had with the applicant that led to this point, so I just
Okay.
gave him these options, and this was one of them, and this is the one he chose to pursue.
So you're saying that it's just
Just that one.
bigger than a sixth of an acre, so it doesn't fit in LDR2 because it's,
He has to have a minimum for a duplex of 14,520 square feet. I think he's just under 10,000 square feet.
I see.
But when you go up to the LDR3, I think it's 4,500 per, so then he meets that code requirement. And so he can't go any higher than that anyways. So it just gives him the ability to put the duplex back in the house.
Okay, is there any other questions? All right, then if there are no more, I would entertain a motion to move forward on this particular item.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 1323 and consider it first read.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Council President Walker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We will go ahead with that change. All right, thank you, Ellen. Appreciate that. All right, item number 10, calendar items, the second reading. Item number 1 is ordinance number 1321, a rezone with conditions to build no more than 12 units total between both lots at 312 and 316 Grand Loop from Community Business Center to Medium Density Residential 1. This was voted on last time. This is a second reading. Is there any discussion about this before we move forward with the second reading? Hearing none?
Do
Oh,
I need to
yes.
recuse myself again? I guess I do, huh?
Okay, that's fine if you want to, yeah. Is there a motion to consider this second read?
Mr. Mayor, I shall make a motion that we consider ordinance number 1321, second read.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember, was that Reeser? Oh, Chambers. Chambers, okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, no one opposed, okay. Motion passes. There are no third readings. Item 11 is the consent calendar, which includes the minutes from the October 2nd, 2024 meeting and the approval of the payment of the City of Rexburg bills. For those of you who are students still here, congratulations for sticking it out, first of all. And we should pass out Tootsie Rolls or something for those of you who stayed till the end, right? The consent calendar consists of, just as it says, things that are very routine that we do every time we pay our bills and those kind of things, the minutes from their different meetings, and so that's what the consent calendar is all about. So I would entertain a motion at this time to approve the consent calendar. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the consent calendar and pay the bills.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Colin Erickson. Any further discussion or questions on any of those things? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We will pay the bills and enter the minutes. And if there's nothing else to be brought forward, other than just hang on for just a minute, we have a little bit of a discussion. Yes?
Mayor, I just wanted to let the council know that we are working on some other annexations, and by law, we're required to let you know that there will be one coming up, and it's to bring in some of the islands that are in our city currently. But we're working on those now. It's coming probably December is when you will see that one at the earliest, but we just want to give you a heads up.
And are they commercial?
Not all of them. One of them is actually included in, which is not a forest, is part of Eagle Park that we own, has never been included in the city, so we're bringing that in. The other one, there's one of them that is commercial, there's another one that is residential. So, but they're in that same case of being an enclave for a very long time, and it's time to bring them into the city, where they're in the center like that. You'll get the full details when we get ready to present.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.
Do you want to talk about the Christmas party?
Yeah, real quick. I hate to do this.